in the sideboard, 2 Vampire Nighthawks main, and then he has 2 Garrett Primal Hunters as far as threats are concerned to go along with a bevy of removal spells and Farseeks.
Well, yeah, and he's playing against Daniel Knox, who's playing against, he's playing kind of the black-green ooze deck that Brian Kibler had come up with. It was like almost a half year ago. So it's Predator Ooze, Lotleth Troll, Dragmangler, Wolfear Avenger, Ulfenvault Tracker.
Yeah, this is the Kibler deck.
Yeah.
That he has had. He lost playing for top 8 for the Open in Las Vegas last year. I know that. And also, I mean, he had some good success with the deck, but never anything that really broke through. Now we're going to see a rank order on Strangleroot Geist, and across for 4 we go. So one thing that this deck can do is it can get off to some rather aggressive starts, and then you see one of them right now.
Right. I mean, I think it was probably like a precursor to the Jund aggro deck is kind of how I viewed it. It's an aggro deck that's slightly slower but really removal resilient. And, you know, and as we see here, like the Strangleroot Geist, it's pretty hard to remove, and you may later see a Predator Ooze, which is equally hard to remove.
So Farseek here from Terry, going to be able to accelerate himself a little bit here, which, you know, if you're Daniel, you're like pretty happy about that because it's not a removal spell, but at the same time, you're kind of unhappy about it because you know that Huntmaster of the Fells or Olivia is probably
As I said before, you know, it's the God draw for Jund once again. But, so, we'll see if it's good enough.
Jund with its cheat codes in Farseek. Because he does search out an overgrown tomb, so it looks like he probably has, you know, another, maybe like a basic mountain in his hand or something to make him so he can have multiple red mana. I guess no basic mountain, but he does have cards like Rootbound Crag.
And we see
that's a promotional card. It has a promotional Dragmangler.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another
I was
haster.
confused like
I was like,
well.
I don't know that card. Okay.
So this is an attack for 4, 5. This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's an attack for 8. So he's going to go down to 8.
So he's gonna need some sort of answer, obviously.
Yes, it's gonna have to probably. I think Huntmaster is much better than Olivia right now.
Yeah, Olivia's how you win the game, but it's not how you stabilize.
And that being said, I don't even think Huntmaster is that great as you're going to see a Rootbound Crag. So second source of red manas here. But the beatdowns are fast and furious.
Yeah, this is one of those play versus draw situations where I think, you know, the fact that Jund was on the draw here is very important.
Huge.
Yeah.
Being able to have the initiative with Arbor Elf and be able to keep pushing that advantage. So we're going to see a Rakdos Keyrune here from Terry. Again, if you're Daniel, you have to be super pleased with that because that means it's just like a removal spell.
It's Abrupt Decay, or as we see, even Dreadbore here.
And Dreadbore, he's fine with this. He's going to quickly untap here. It feels like he's probably got
dead to a Dragmangler. He's dead to a few things. Daniel can, you know, has the availability to go land Scavenge, put Terry to 1.
Yeah, the tough thing about that, and you see his hand right now, he has a mountain and he has an Arbor Elf, or he has, a land and an Arbor Elf in his hand.
Yeah.
I believe that's an Arbor Elf.
He's 1 damage short. See, Terry has a Thragtusk, and then we'll have a first striking blocker available to him as well. So he's not completely out of the woods yet. The thing I like about Daniel's play is that I don't believe Terry can well, he can still Thragtusk.
Okay, Thragtusk up to 8.
I'm thinking how much damage. Yeah, then it's a 7 trample. Yeah, okay, so you can still Thragtusk up to 8. And he'll probably do so. The Rakdos Keyrune goes a long way in helping him stabilize.
Yeah. I think his thought is, you know, Thragtusk up to 8. The only card I have to really worry about over there is the Dragmangler Scavenge.
Right.
So Thragtusking up to 8 and then just passing. Now, one thing that you have to note here in Matthias, that's a big deal, is Daniel didn't play his land for the turn. So as a result, he can't top deck another land and then Scavenge. He actually has to use an Arbor Elf to be able to do that. And I think that actually ends up being a huge deal here.
Yeah, I mean, the cards, Daniel's hoping to draw the hasters in his deck, which is more Dragmanglers, Strangleroot Geists, or essentially Rancors.
And it looked like Daniel drew a land for the turn, so what he could have done is if he plays his land last turn, he's empty-handed.
He could have scavenged.
And then attack with everybody.
Right.
And he can't do that now. And if he scavenges onto, like, the Strangleroot Geist, then he gets in for 7 - 3, so 4 trample damage, and then 5 and 6. But, okay, it was a spell.
And he drew a Dragmangler,
so,
which is pretty good. And he's just going to swing. I feel like the whole team should be coming because, yeah, it's free damage he's missing here because if he swings the... Yeah, Terry can't afford to... Yeah, well, he can afford to block other things, but it's really bad.
No, I mean, at this point...
he can't afford to block an Arbor Elf. The Arbor Elves are just free damage being left on the board.
Yeah, I mean, you have to press your advantage because you're a deck without any reach.
Right.
You just have to get all of your damage in. And right now he's missing 2 points of damage with these Arbor Elves that, again, the deck that has so much life gain as the Jund deck does in Huntmaster of the Fells and Thragtusk, you can't afford to miss points of damage like this. And you see he's missing out on 2 points right now as Thragtusk is going to get in front of Dreadmangler. Dreadmangler and Thragtusk are going to trade. 4 damage is going to happen. Terry's going to move down to 4. But imagine right now if
I'm
he
not
was
sure
at
how he's
2.
getting those last points in. I mean, what Daniel can do is scavenge onto Strangleroot, say go, scavenge onto Strangleroot again, but there's a lot of plays that really make, that negate that.
So Terry draws a Forest for the turn. His hand of Ground Seal. What else does he have there? And he has Huntmaster of the Fells. And now he's also representing that Rakdos Keyrune too.
Right, so he has 7 toughness in play, so Daniel's gonna need 13 trampling damage to get through that.
You saw Terry reaching for that Beast Token considering an attack, and you got to know where you're at. You got to slow it down a little bit.
Right. And if you're Daniel, I don't know if you'd have a play outside of double scavenging on the Strangleroot Geist and really crossing your fingers.
Yep, I agree with you.
Like, it's one of those things where you look at that line, you're like, huh, so that's the out I'm on, huh? And you're just like, that's... The problem is that actually flips the Huntmaster.
Mm-hmm.
As Scavenge is, I mean, he's going to flip it. Scavenge isn't actually a spell.
He's going to scavenge here.
He's going to go on to Arbor Elf.
The Arbor Elf. And I understand why he would want to do that, but I don't like that play simply because you have to scavenge onto your trampling creature, and now he's just going to come across with both of his guys. And so that's feeding the here, and that's not. I don't think that's going to be what happened. That's not going to be what he wants to have happen. He can double block the 3 and 2. Double block the tokens on the Arbor Elf and eat the Strangleroot Geist, and that's exactly what he's going to do. So now we're going to see a double block here, and now all the resources are going to be expended.
Mm-hmm.
So Strangleroot Geist is going to come back. Ranker's going to go back. To Daniel's hand. But now Huntmaster of the Fells is still going to flip into Ravager of the Fells because no spells were cast. So as a result, because that thing's dead. That Arbor Elf is
Strangleroot's dead too.
Yeah.
On this flip back.
So this is gonna, flip. Yeah, you take care of the Strangleroot Geist, and now if you're Terry, all you have to do is beat an Arbor Elf with a Rancor and potentially counters. That's not very hard for the Jund.
No, I mean the Rakdos Keyrune does that.
Yeah, and that Mizzium Mortars does that too, which was Terry's draw step for the turn. Yeah, I mean this simply put, and I know you're a teacher. I mean this is just like a misallocation of like resources in this game.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Daniel seemed overly concerned with the like he's trying to play around a kill spell. He didn't want to be as all in as he could have been, but I think he's not recognizing, kind of just his role in the matchup right now. That things aren't going to you need to think sometimes on a board state of if we both draw a card, whose strategy gets better. Mm-hmm. And I think what Daniel needs to see here is that Terry clearly gets better every turn that passes.
Yes, the longer the game goes, the more things are in favor for Terry. And now he's even being aggressive. You see him attacking with the Ravager and the Wolf token. And if you're Daniel, you have to be thinking to yourself, if he's attacking here, I'm probably not doing very well.
Right. I mean, you probably realized you weren't doing well when, at the end of that last attack there. But, I mean, it's a pretty aggressive play by Terry, but I don't see too many lines. Yeah, this just seems really good for Terry.
There's not a lot that can be done to get punished yet. And now this is going to flip because 2 spells happen from the Ground Seal.
More life.
Yes, from the Ground Seal and the Olivia.
Though.
Yeah, that does not happen. The Huntmaster of the Fells will stay tapped. And we will get that corrected for you in just a moment. But the Wolf token will come into play untapped along with Olivia. And then after that is tapped, then we will continue play, as it looks like you can see here. Both players have paused momentarily.
Yeah. There we go.
We're all better.
The draw was, let's see, he has a Rancor. He also has one other card. But Terry has enough mana that Olivia can start stealing a creature every turn, which really means this is Daniel's last turn to make a lethal swing, which I don't think is possible from his deck.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible either. And we've seen this many times with, the Jund deck. And is she a Rancor here on the Arbor Elf? Once you untap with Olivia, it's very difficult to lose.
You drew another land.
Yeah.
Okay.
Golgari Gilgate comes into play. Rancor goes on Arbor Elf. And now...
I think he has his swing may even be lethal this turn.
Yeah, we're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 double shot or activate Rakdos Keyrune.
Or just play no spells.
Yeah, and just flip. Yeah, so he has a bevy of ways to deal the necessary points of damage. So there's a shot on the Arbor Elf. Olivia's going to grow into a 4/4.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so he can fire P-Rune 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and finish this off. And even if this goes wrong, there's nothing that actually backfires here for Terry. That's the big thing. It's like, let's say that there's like a Putrefy that gets involved for some reason after he attacks with everybody. You know, there's no card coming off the top for Daniel that can actually win him the game, as Dreadmangler plus Rancor is 5, not 6. So Daniel realizes this, and he is going to concede the game, so Terry Stoute is going to win game 1 here of Jund versus Green-Black Ooze.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, I think this is a matchup. This is kind of the matchup that Daniel's looking for. Because, you know, he's playing an aggro deck that's more resilient to removal, and Jund really is just a removal deck.
Yeah.
So I would think that, played right, that Daniel... I kind of like where Daniel is in this matchup. Obviously, Olivia Voldaren is another one of those matchups where it's a huge problem for his deck. He doesn't have, in his entire 75, he doesn't actually have a card. He has two Putrefys, 2 Tragic Slips. Those were with the, yeah. But outside of that, those are his only answers to it, and the card pretty much blanks his whole deck outside of that.
Yeah, and those, I mean, while Putrefy is like a clean answer, it's also an answer that like requires your entire turn to like be able to take care of it. So you can't, once your opponent plays like an Olivia, like maybe if they go Farseek Olivia, you know, you have to like allocate your turn to like kill that thing and then keep going. You can't like kill it and then add to your board presence. You know, you're not going to see 2 spells in 1 turn, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That you can't do that. You have to use your entire turn to kill this insane card, and then if you're doing that, you're not adding to your board, and then that's when Thragtusk is able to stabilize a game.
Right. I mean, in essence, Putrefy, you know, Olivia is not really a powerhouse until like turn 6 or 7. I mean, the thing is, you might not even have your Putrefy by that point. You know, how much are you gonna, if you have a Putrefy in your opener, how gun shy are you going to be on it? You know, are you going to be like, well, he might top deck an Olivia, I better hang on to this Putrefy. That's a pretty hard line to stay to.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. I agree.
And it looks like Daniel Knox is reaching. He has Appetite for Brains in the sideboard, which he is adding. He looks like he's also adding Duress.
Yeah, I mean, those cards coming in this matchup certainly make sense. There are plenty of spells to take, and, you know, Appetite can take Thragtusk or an Olivia or Hunt Match to the Fel, so there are plenty of targets there, but are you diluting your strategy too much by having discard in your deck when you're trying to be an aggressive deck? That's the question you have to ask yourself now.
And I like those sideboard cards, actually, because Jund can be a little threat light, and some of the cards that he's scared about are Thragtusks to a point and Olivia. And so I think if Daniel can get one of those cards out of Terry's hand, then that's worth the turn he's giving up. It's worth the card he's giving up to make sure that Terry doesn't have that stabilizing card.
Yeah. Matthias, you know where we're going to be next week?
What do you mean?
We're going to be in Baltimore, Maryland next week.
Baltimore, Maryland?
That's right. Baltimore is is the next stop for the SCG Open Series. I'll be doing coverage with AJ Soccer.
Yeah, no, Baltimore, I think last time still holds it's either Baltimore or DC that still holds, I think Baltimore holds our record for the largest Open we've had at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not the largest, it's the second largest. I remember Columbus was, it was Indy. Yeah, Indy was comically big. I think we had 11 rounds for the standard tournament. Yeah.
Okay, it was, but a lot, you know, Baltimore, I know the last time we were there was Joey Pasco and myself were covering it, and it's a really a good show there. There's a lot of very strong players, though.
Yeah, it not only does it have like a lot of strong players because it's kind of like a center, like a nice central location for a lot of people to be able to go to, but it always has gigantic turnouts too as well. It'll be AJ Soccer, Glenn Jones, and myself bringing you guys the coverage next weekend in Baltimore. So if you're around
Standard and Legacy?
Yeah, Standard Legacy.
So for you Legacy aficionados, next weekend you'll get your Legacy fix once again.
You'll have a smile on your faces. Hey, I love myself some Legacy, so I can't complain. So be sure to check out that next weekend. But right now we are in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. SCG Live, hashtag SCGDAL for your tweets. We've got our mobile devices here for you. Appreciate you guys watching today on a pretty nice Saturday here in Texas. Actually not too hot.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty good. I mean, obviously inside the convention center, it's, you know, a nice controlled temperature.
But yeah, this morning the walk over, it was temperate. I was a little bit surprised. It wasn't too muggy or anything. What's it like in Minnesota right now?
Very nice. It's like around 70 to 80.
Okay, so we're done with the snow?
We're done with the snow. Yeah, it went much later than you'd normally expect, though. We had snow all the way up until about May 1st, which is weird this year. Normally, that's pretty unusual, though.
It's actually one of my favorite cities. Minneapolis. I've played in a Nationals there and a Grand Prix, and I like where they hold the tournaments. I think it's the convention center downtown.
Yep, it's the downtown convention center.
I like that area, and it just seems like a really nice city. I mean, I wish it wasn't so freezing cold in the winter, but when it's not in the winter, it seems like it's super nice.
I mean,
a lot of lakes and stuff.
Yeah, I'm from around there. You know, I'm a big fan, but.
Just make the snow go away. May 1st.
Yeah, just that's unusual. That's weird. We complained about that one.
So both players are going to present their decks here. We'll be going on to game number 2 between Knox and Stoute here. Green-Black Ooze will be on the play for game 2.
Yeah. And you know, Terry really, I was surprised at how he was able to pull back into that game. I really thought, you know, when Daniel had the swing for 8 on turn 3, that was going to be, he was going to put the nail in the coffin there. And so it's kind of amazing, you know, just how far a lot of Jun's cards go towards stabilizing.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Even just Rakdos Key Room there was really important.
Yep. Being able to go Rakdos Key Room into removal spell was a pretty big deal. And now we're just going to see a Forest and pass the turn back here. I think maybe Daniel thought he had an Arborel for a turn 1 play, but Terry just has a Stomping Ground. I think we're going to see a Strangling Root Geist on turn 2 here. We are.
Now you said, so a couple questions about Terry's Jund list. I know that the list that Owen Turtenwald first played in Somerset has kind of become the standby Jund list. We saw, you know, Lauren Nolan playing it last week. We've been seeing Tyler Phelps being the runner-up in Charlotte with the same deck. Terry's not on that list, though. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got some small differences. The big one there is that Vampire Nighthawk is in the main deck and Siren Sanity is in the sideboard. I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah. How many Lilianas?
We see for Terry's main deck, it looks like 0 in the main,
okay,
and then 2 in the sideboard.
All right, so still following the trend of less Liliana and Jund.
Yeah, Liliana, like now I think Liliana is relegated to being like this tool that's useful against Bant Hexproof, more than just a main deck card now.
And Terry, once again, with just every game, the turn 2 Farseed.
God draw, cheat codes. I like how this deck is just wildly different when it has Farseed and versus when it doesn't.
It's actually just like, it's about a turn faster when you have a Farseed.
And so here's a Rancor and a second Rancor.
Another Rancor.
All right, so in for 6 we go.
Does he have no more lands? Okay, all right. Well, here's to no kill spell.
Yeah, all in. No instant speed removal spell. How about that?
That seems unlikely that there's no kill spell. Yeah, instant speed would be... sorcery speed's fine, but...
I wonder what that card is.
All right.
I wonder what that card is that Terry's thinking about.
Bonfire for 1.
Yep.
And now if he has the land, he can because he didn't Bonfire for 2, he's representing an Abrupt Decay. If he drops another land here, which it's Kessig Wolfrun, so no, he's not.
Is he
Immortars?
Yeah. And, I mean, very good play there. Just no reason to Bonfire for 2.
And Daniel with no plays.
Oh boy.
That does not bode well.
I agree.
He's got one Thragtusk, or in this case, one Garruk Primal Hunter from the game being for Terry being really ahead.
And it's so important, as you're going to see the Primal Hunter there, it's so important for Daniel's deck to just keep Terry on the back foot and just make him have to have removal spells and lands and everything, because now he has to play catch-up.
I don't think he's on the back foot anymore.
No, he's not. And I don't think that Daniel's deck, again, does a nice job of playing catch-up. It's a deck that plays pretty well when it's ahead because of haste creatures and Scavenge and Rancor, and pretty poorly when it's behind.
Now, with enough Predator Oozes, say he hits her 3rd land and starts making Predator Oozes, do we feel like Daniel can come back into this game? I mean, Terry...
I think it's tough.
It's what? It's Sever and Olivia that are the Terry's ways of dealing with a Predator Ooze?
Tragic Slip as well.
Okay.
Which he has 2 in his main deck and then 2 in his sideboard. So here's a Rancor.
Rancor's going to work. All right, let's try it again. Swing, there's an...
And he's going after, and this is the tough part, right? Because like he'd like to just be able to go after Terry, and he has to go after Garruk because it's just looming there with the potential to draw a bunch of cards. And he's like, I guess I got to do what I got to do to try to get this off the board.
I mean, Terry's fine letting Garruk take 3. I would just be fine putting 1 beast. Yeah, let Garruk take some damage, and then basically double time walk you.
Yep.
Or single time walk, but still just. Ugh.
Yeah, the Rancors go back. The Geist comes back as a 3/2, but now it can die to the Mortars or the Bonfires in Terry's hand. So, got to be happy with that turn.
Right, Garruk can continue making 3/3s. And have a discard of a Predators.
Yep.
Now, what do you think he's hanging on to that he'd be wanting to discard Ooze? Ooze to me seems like his out.
Yeah, that seems like one of the few cards he can actually use to like get back in this game, assuming that Terry just kind of bricks a bunch.
It's because Terry can just be cold to the card.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, with Casting Wolf Run plus Beasts, there's maybe he can't be cold. Maybe he can actually just race it.
Yeah, the Wolf Run definitely changes everything. As basically Mortis is going to take care of the String Root Geist. The Beast is going to feel frisky this time to come across for 3. And it looks like we're going to see Garrick moving on up.
Garrick brings more of his friends to the party. And another draw, still not a land. It looks like a Golgari. It's a Golgari watermark card on it. It's maybe a Golgari Charm.
Yep, it is actually, that one is a Drag
Mangler.
Mangler, and that one's going to be discarded. So Terry's going to untap, he's going to draw. And, at this point, he can close out the game in a multitude of ways. As he has that Castle Wolfer and a bunch of lands, he can draw cards with Garrick.
Interestingly enough, Terry really never drew a threat past this Garrick Primal Hunter. Yeah. If it was answered, Terry's hand was very beatable.
Yes, I agree with you there. Big time.
Yeah.
It was very, very beatable. So we're going to see a Wolf Run activation here for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage.
Putting Daniel Knox to 5 life. Garrick with yet another friend.
Or you could just, if he wants to, he can just, he's going to draw a
bunch
of cards.
Okay, he's going to draw
8.
Yeah. Okay, I guess.
So 8 fresh ones coming over to Terry Stoute, and I don't like to pronounce games over, Matthias,
no,
but
it's not.
It's going to be tough.
Daniel has one more draw left.
You're
it's
right.
going to have to be a good one.
You're right. You're right.
All right.
So you're going to see Stoute discard a couple of lands here. And a Farseek. Oh, we don't need Farseek now, huh?
Okay, yeah. Right on time. And he hits a forest.
Daniel draws a forest, and he is going to concede the game. So Terry Stoute is going to win this match. 2-0 over Daniel Knox. Jun does get the job done here against a black-green Predator Ooze.
Yeah. So, seeing Jun win 2 games fairly easily, am I wrong? Is the matchup good for Jun? It seemed like Daniel got some some tough luck there.
I mean, game 2, was I feel like, we didn't get a great look at Daniel's hand, but it feels like he probably kept a reasonable hand and just didn't draw his 3rd land on time for Predator Ooze shenanigans and get that ball rolling. But I really do feel like just game 1, when he goes back and watches this game on video later, and when we update it to the archives, he's going to say, well, here's where I made a mistake, here's where I made a mistake. Maybe I should have gotten in with those 2 Arbor Elves, I missed some